What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Corey Austin MMA Theorem. So moves are being made in the welterweight division of the UFC, and it looks like Leon Edwards' next fight is here coming March 22nd to be exact. Now, I don't think this has been officially announced by the UFC, but March 22nd at the O2 Arena in London on Leon's home turf. It looks like the Rocky will face Jack Della Maddalena. And I have a few things to say about this fight. Now, obviously, Leon's a former champ. He's not wanting to backslide and start losing to top contenders at this point. And if we look at the welterweight division. Well, you know what? First, let's look at the article real quick. Former champion Leon Edwards will test rising welterweight contender Jack Della Maddalena in the UFC Fight Night 255 main event. After losing the title to Bilal Muhammad in July, Edwards will have a chance to rebound on home soil when he returns to headline against Della Maddalena at the UFC March 22 event from the O2 Arena in London. Two people with knowledge of the situation confirmed the news with MMA Junkie following an initial report from Australian MMA reporter Benny P on X. The people requested anonymity because the promotion has not yet made the official announcement. Edwards, number two in the latest USA Today Sports MMA Junkie welterweight rankings, saw his reign come to an end after two successful defenses when he dropped a unanimous decision to Muhammad at UFC 304. The 33-year-old has fallen out of the title conversation for many in the aftermath of the defeat, but Rocky can offer a reminder in front of his home country fans. In order to do so, Edwards will have to get past number 6 ranked Della Maddalena. Let's stop right there real quick. They got that wrong. I'm looking at the current rankings right now, and it shows Jack Della Maddalena ranked at number 4 in the welterweight division. You have Bilal Muhammad champ, Leon Edwards number 1, number 2 Shavkat Rakhmonov, number 3 Kamaru Usman, who I looked everywhere. I could not find. I think Kamaru's taking some time off. I did see a couple of sources and videos where he was talking about taking some time off to spend with his family and whatnot. There's no confirmation on when and who he may fight again, but he's still sitting, comfortably at number 3. After him, number 4 is Jack Della Maddalena. So back to the article here, and I'm just going to replace that 6 with 4. Edwards will have to get past number 4, Della Maddalena, who is riding a 17-fight winning streak in his career, including 7 consecutive to open his UFC tenure. The 28-year-old Australian, wow, bro, I didn't realize he was that young, 28 years old. Some of these guys look a lot older than they are. The 28-year-old Australian will get a chance to prove he's a true title contender when he faces a former UFC champion for the first time in his first main event. And he'll have to do so in enemy territory. So I think this could be a place where, we start to see that shift between these really up-and-coming talented fighters starting to take over for the original guys that have been there for a little bit longer. Now, for Leon Edwards, obviously his strength of schedule is bigger and better than Jack Della Maddalena. I mean, Leon Edwards' last 4 fights have been for a title, whether he was defending it or in the title fight against Kamaru Usman. So obviously the levels there are different, but this sport goes in waves, and every 3 to 5 years you get a group of guys that are just that much better. They have certain little intangibles that the guys 3 to 5 years before them didn't have. These fighters are constantly evolving, and I think that's what gives me a really cool perspective about this sport, because I've been watching this sport since 1993 when Royce Gracie stepped into the octagon. I'm a 48-year-old guy, so I fell in love with it as a 17-year-old junior in high school when I brought the VHS tape home and watched Royce Gracie compete in that tournament. The way it has changed since then is a completely different now mainstream sport that's on ESPN and all these other major networks, right? At this point, it's had bona fide superstars and all the rest of it. So um, that's typically the way the sport proceeds. You have a group of guys that'll have some sort of skill or intangible that the guys 3 to 5 years before them didn't have, but this group developed it, and now they're starting to kind of take over. Well, in 3 to 5 years, you'll have more guys coming out that are going to have something that Jack Della Maddalena doesn't have, right? So strength of schedule definitely goes to Leon. His last fight, Bilal Muhammad, that he lost, obviously. Before that, Colby Covington, where, in my opinion, he and Colby Covington shit the bed. So in terms of name value, obviously Colby's a bigger opponent than Jack Della Maddalena has faced. Before that, 2 fights against Kamaru Usman, right? Him winning both of those. Now, and before that, Nate Diaz. Okay, again, Nate Diaz, put him kind of in the same category as Colby Covington in terms of he has a huge name, but he's not necessarily the toughest of opposition this day and age. You know, at one point he was considered more that, but at this point, even when he fought Leon, he wasn't necessarily that. But if we look at Jack Della Maddalena's last fight, his last fight says all I really need to see, okay, for this Leon Edwards fight. And I think that Leon Edwards is going to have trouble with Jack Della Maddalena. No, JDM's last fight was against Gilbert Burns. Now, obviously, Gilbert Burns is a much more accomplished grappler than Leon Edwards. Now, I know what people are going to say. Oh, be careful what you're saying. You know, Leon Edwards beat Kamaru Usman twice. Kamaru Usman is a great grappler. Yeah, that's true. But he beat him by virtue of having great takedown defense. Okay? He didn't beat him by having really good grappling. He was just really good at defending the takedown. JDM is not going to be trying to take down Leon Edwards. He has a very high level set of boxing skills for MMA. He wants to use that. He wants to utilize that. He won't be trying to take Leon down. So really, the grappling doesn't have much to do with it, unless maybe Leon hurts him, hits him with a head kick, stuns him, something like that. Maybe JDM feels like he needs to get in there and take him down just so he can kind of recover. That's the only way I see a takedown happening in this fight, right? And Leon can take guys down too, right? But again, if JDM can survive the grappling of a world-class jiu-jitsu player like Gilbert Burns, I have no doubt that he can easily survive any grappling attack or put forth by Leon Edwards. Okay, I think we can all agree on that. Here's where I think the problem comes in for Leon Edwards in this fight. Leon Edwards is very Israel Adesanya-esque with his style of fighting. Staying out on the outside. He's a tall guy, 6'2" for the welterweight division. Staying on the outside, measuring his opponents, picking them apart from the outside with high kicks, body kicks, 1-2s here and there. Leon's got decent boxing, but it all comes from his range. That's how he has learned to weaponize his height. Okay, so I see two things in this fight being a huge problem for Leon Edwards. One of those is the boxing in close of Jack Della Maddalena. The second thing is pace. Jack Della Maddalena sets a pace that is just nauseating, okay? And once he starts landing shots, he's one of those guys that crushes that pocket, and he'll throw 2-3 shots coming in and get inside that space. Well, because you say, well, how do you know he's going to be able to get inside? Leon's going to keep him on the outside. No, because Leon has to defend, right? He's up against a really good boxer. So when JDM comes, throwing 2-3 punch combinations, Leon's going to have to shell up or he's going to get caught, knowing that JDM is a serious, real knockout threat from a striking perspective. So he's going to have to shell up. He's going to have to defend himself. He's going to have to put his hands up, right? Well, when you're not looking and you're putting your hands up, that's when guys can slip on the inside. JDM is one of those guys that showed it against Randy Brown. When he gets on the inside, he throws punches in bunches, including to the body, including uppercuts, which are going to be damaging to the taller opponent of Leon Edwards. I just see this being a real issue for Leon Edwards, and I think this could be the beginning of the end. Now, Leon's a great fighter, so I'm not saying this is going to be, I'm not picturing like a Tyron Woodley sort of decline here, where he just loses one fight. Next thing you know, he's lost 4 in a row. I'm not seeing that sort of thing with him, but I think UFC is pretty ballsy to give Leon Edwards Jack Della Maddalena in his home country like that. I think this can spell trouble for Leon. He's not the kind of guy to fight at a really, really high pace. He's the kind of guy to fight point fighting from a distance, staying on the outside, picking his shots, trying to download data of what other guys are going to do, using feints, that sort of thing, to draw out actions from those opponents so he can then find places to put his own strikes. Leon Edwards is not the type of guy to just come relentlessly at guys. That's just not the style of fighting that he has, right? Now, that's one of the reasons that he had trouble with Kamaru Usman in the first fight, because Kamaru Usman has that sort of style. Only difference is his is from a grappling perspective. He constantly comes at you, but from a grappling perspective. That's how Kamaru Usman fought Leon in that very first fight. Later on, Kamaru had obviously worked on his striking quite a lot, felt like he had more to offer on the feet with Leon Edwards, so he wasn't quite as relentless with the grappling. And to be fair, Leon did a good job of learning to shuck off the takedowns. He and his team did a good job with him developing some takedown defense, but as far as being an offensive grappler, Leon's never been that, right? And he's not a guy that has a high pace. He sits on the outside. He picks his strikes. Jack Della Maddalena is a guy that's always looking to get in close. He's always looking to get inside. Here's the reach of Leon Edwards. Jack Della Maddalena is looking to get inside that, and he'll do that by throwing punches and bunches, causing his opponent to shell up to protect themselves. The next thing you know, he's right there in the pocket. He's really good at going low, then high, then up the middle. Eventually, you're going to get hit by something. And he showed that in the Randy Brown fight. There's no takedown threat from Leon Edwards that I don't think JDM can handle, but there are certain things that JDM has that I don't believe Leon Edwards is ready for. One of those is that striking pace that JDM's going to put on him. And once Jack Della Maddalena gets on the inside, he is going to find a way to catch Leon Edwards with some significant strikes. I do see Leon Edwards losing this fight at O2 Arena in front of his home crowd in London. They'll love him anyway. He's a hometown guy, but I think that the UFC is trying to bolster up these up-and-coming guys, and that's the reason they're giving Jack Della Maddalena to Leon Edwards, because I do believe that they believe he will beat Leon Edwards, because really the only other people you have up there is Sean Brady. He's number 5. I mean, how come they didn't give him Sean Brady? The timing's about right on that. I think that's because Sean Brady is not really a striking threat. And, Leon Edwards has pretty good takedown defense. All right. I think Leon Edwards beats Sean Brady, at least right now. I don't think he beats JDM. Okay. So anyway, that's kind of an early synopsis of this fight. Probably do a little closer, more thorough breakdown a little later on. Like I said, this has not even been made official, but this is a great fight. And I think this is a fight that mirrors the kind of changing of the guard that we see in the UFC in 3-5 year periods. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. You think Leon can beat JDM? Subscribe to the channel if you would, and like the video. Don't forget to share it. I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.